planned. And God is hurt. And what do when we're hurt? Well, we like to hurt in return. What do we do when violence has been done to us and hurt us? Well, we like to respond with violence in return. It's a very human response. The God of the flood is a very human God here. And so God says, I'm going to blot out humankind from the face of the earth. I'm going to blot them out. All creatures that have the breath of life in their nostrils, I'm going to destroy. They're going to die. Yee. We often think of the flood story as this cute and cuddly story. It's all animals hopping into the ark and rainbows. And we put the pictures on our nurseries for our children. I did. But here's God, angry and violent. We can't get around the violence of God here. This is a part of the story. And we can be repulsed by this, very offended by this, because God isn't supposed to be this way. What are we doing wasting our time with this stereotypical God of the Old Testament, right? Such a hothead, just a warrior God, just throwing out destruction everywhere and getting back at people. What are we doing when we could be in the New Testament with Jesus, with love and compassion and grace? There are two meanings of this story that I think are very important, that are two surprises in this story that encourage us to bear with it. And one is that God doesn't give up on creation, loves it too much, can't give up on it. God is not just bashing creation into pieces and walking away, but God's trying to restore it, trying to give it a new start. And God believes in humankind enough, in the goodness of humankind enough, that God says there has to be one person out there who's still good, who hasn't given themselves to wickedness. There has to be one person. I know I can find one person, and God finds Noah, who's blameless, righteous, walks with God. And God says to Noah, Noah, I've got a deal for you. I'm going to bring a big rain on the earth, something like you've never seen before. I'm really angry. I got to get it out. But I'll save you and your family if you do something for me. I want you to build a big boat. Big boat. 3 floors on this boat. And I want you to put every little piece of creation onto this boat. I told you it had to be big. 2 animals of every kind, male and female. You know how this works, Noah? Okay, good. 2 animals of every kind onto the ark. And put windows in the ark, because you're going to be in there for a long time. Big animals, it's going to be smelly. Elephants, lions, tigers, you're going to need the ventilation. 40 days, 150, I don't know how many days, just a long time. Build me this boat, Noah. The second surprise is a big one, and that is God changes in the story. God repents in the story. We're used to thinking of God as perfect, timeless, unchanging, the same yesterday, today, tomorrow. But the flood story didn't get the memo on this. The flood story gives us a picture of God who changes. As soon as the drawbridge comes up on the ark, all the animals are inside, God brings the rain. And the flood waters start to rise. And the ark does too. And all the animals and the human beings die on the earth. And then the rain stops, and the waters start to recede, and the ark comes to a rest. The drawbridge opens, the animals and the family come out. Fresh air, finally! And then God looks upon God's creation, this beautiful creation, and sees nothing but destruction everywhere. Bodies just strewn about. Death everywhere. And God is sad. See, before, human beings were responsible for the violence and the brokenness and the destruction. But here, God is responsible. And God says, in response to the sadness and the scene of destruction, never again. Never again will I bring this destruction to the earth or try to destroy humankind. I won't do it again. I'm trying to restore the earth. I know that Noah and his family, they're going to mess it up pretty soon. Messing up is going to happen, but I'm not going to bring a flood again. I've got to find a new strategy. And so God instead embraces relationship, covenant. God is willing to make God's self vulnerable over time. So God says to Noah, Noah, I'm going to make a deal with you and with all of creation. What I want you to do is just stop murdering, okay? Don't do that. Don't hurt one another. I know you're not going to do it. Just try. Just try. For my part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a rainbow in the clouds, and that will be a sign to me of my covenant with you, to be with you forever, to be with creation forever. And the rainbow will remind me, when I see it, I'll be reminded of how sad I feel right now. And I won't go back on this promise. I'm with you. I'm in it with you with creation. No matter how bad things get, I'm with you. You can count on it. There are two meanings here that I think can be ark and ark for us, saving for us. And the first is this example of God, who's turning God's back on responding to hurt with hurt, responding to violence with violence for the sake of saving anything. God's turning God's back on that and instead is embracing relationship. And we're invited to do the same. And this can be saving for us. And the second meaning that can be saving for us, that can be an ark for us, is this promise that God is with us, and trusting this promise and finding hope from this promise. So there are a few thoughts that have been in my head as I've been thinking about these two meanings. And the first, I've been thinking about the movie Invictus again. And some of you have seen the movie Invictus. If you haven't, I encourage you to see it. It's a great movie. It stars Morgan Freeman and Matt Damon, and it's about apartheid, or post-apartheid South Africa and Nelson Mandela and rugby. It's lots of fun. But in this movie, Mandela is saying, what the whites are expecting us to do now that we're in power and apartheid has fallen, is the whites are expecting that we are going to pay them back, that we are going to respond to the ways that they hurt us with violence of our own towards